Hi everyone, Armored Pants here, and I have another tank for you in the Russian line. This is the Tier 9 IS-8, and we have a complete guide. As in always, we will have a look at the tech spec in full details, and we will use blitzhanger.com to do that, which is a great asset for all blitzers. Now, this is a good, solid, balanced heavy tank. It has good gun, it has good armor, it's agile. It has not the best gun handling, obviously, as a Russian tank, but nonetheless the gun is decent. And it's a very fast heavy, therefore it's often described as a Heavium. And you cannot sometimes play it as a med. Indeed, you will often find in games IS-8s turning up in flanking maneuvers. They follow the other med tanks because it does 50 kilometers an hour and therefore can get around the map pretty quickly and has a very good power to weight ratio. Now, looking at the gun, you will see that there are three choices of gun: a Tier 8, a Tier 9 and a Tier 10. Now they're all 122mm, you might say, oh well, you know, so that's fairly decent. But if you look at the stats here on the lower gun, the pen numbers are really low. And when you go to the higher gun, you've got a 9.3 second reload, you've got 258mm of pen compared to 175mm on the lower gun, 217mm. Even with your APCR round. So, you know, you're really going to suffer because you're up in Tier 9, you're even going to be playing some Tier 10 tanks, and you're going to suffer because, you know, you're up against the heaviest armor tanks in the game. And if you've got, you know, less than 200mm of pen, which are normal rounds, you're going to really suffer. You're not going to be able to pen a lot of tanks front on. And if you play this as a heavy tank, and you're going front line or supporting your frontline heavies if you're up tiered, you're going to really struggle trying to pen something like an E100 or Jagdpanzer, Jagaru, or even an IS-4, IS-7, or even another IS-8 for that matter. So therefore the top gun is pretty much essential. You can see the DPM goes up, but also the actual DPM is much higher. It gives you significantly higher pen numbers on all aspects, and it gives you heat as a premium round. Now the supercharge I would use, because the muzzle velocity is only 940 meters per second, so therefore you need to upgrade that to 1222 meters per second. We look here at the speed, you can see, as we said, it is fast. It's 50 kilometers an hour, right? So it's really fast. It's 15 backwards, so it's good power to weight ratio too, so that's how it's described as a Heavium. And this of course allows you other tactical options when you're playing this tank. You can play it as a frontline heavy, particularly if you're top tiered, because it does have a very good armor profile. But you can also play it as a medium tank should you wish, and we'll discuss that a little bit more later on. Now this is a great armor profile. You can really side scrape it. And look at those relative armor numbers in the top left hand corner. They are really high. Look at that. I mean, that's just crazy armor numbers on the side. And front on, only the lower plate is vulnerable, so if you can hide that when you're side scraping, you can really bounce a lot of shots. This tank can take a lot of punishment, And it's something it's not always noted for, because a lot of times, as we said, especially really experienced and good players play it as a medium. They go follow their mediums and support, and it can be really effective like that. But at the end of the day, this is a heavy tank, and it can be played as your standard heavy tank, doing those heavy tank rolls, which we discussed in the heavy tank guide we have on channel. You can see here it has spaced armor at the side. Please note that, because that means that heat and HE are not going to damage you. You can also reverse side scraping this tank if you can hide your butt, and we're going to have a look at some side scraping action here, because this tank really can take a lot of punishment. So let's have a look at its side scraping in action and show just how much punishment this tank can take and how effective it can be at side scraping. Now, I'm on Himmelsdorf and I'm going into a side scraping position here. This is a typical heavy tank channel on this map, down towards D, and you can see I'm facing up to 1, 2, 3 of their tanks on this side. There's going to be a fourth when the mouse comes in later on, which actually I wasn't even aware he had a shot on me. I'll take a bit of punishment from. But just during the course of this game, I'm moving out, I'm showing them those really high relative armor numbers that we looked at, and I am bouncing shots. Now of course I'm going to take a bit of punishment, but really it's just to show you how effective this tank is. Just in the course of this 2 minutes of play, we're going to see me bounce 3,000 hit points of damage. And by the way, it's 3,000 hit points of damage, but for those of you who are observant, you'll also see that a number of the shots fired at me also hit off the wall. That's not counted as bounce damage. I take one here from the mouse. I didn't even see the guy there. You'll see here now I'm already up to 1.5k damage, but I'm going to bounce up to 3000. Plus there's maybe another 2 or 3 shots they hit off the wall. You can see the impact puffs from the masonry as it flashes out. There's another one there, you see. So altogether I've probably absorbed in that there's been shots have been fired at me of maybe 4000 plus hit points. Why is that important? Well, of course it's important for your own tank because you survive and stay in the game, right? But there we are, 3080 damage blocked, and I get my reward too. I get to take out the chieftain in the end, and I get another little kill here, and then not much else happens in this game, so we'll go back and have a look. We'll resume our look at the tech spec, but I just wanted to show you that, to show if you side scrape correctly in this tank how much damage you can block. Now that's 3000 direct damage blocked to me, about 4000 damage fire that we didn't go through. That's 2 tanks in tier 10. It's and if you're in tier 8 it's almost 3 tanks, right? So I've basically saved 2 tanks of damage by using the armor profile of this tank, which is amazing job for my team and shows just how tough this tank can be. It really is, can take a lot of punishment. Now in terms of tactics, we said obviously you can go down the heavy tank channel, particularly if you're top tier. You can really be the tip of the spear, go and play the typical heavy tank role in this tank. You can see here, if you look at its armor profile front on, even when it's up tiered, it's pretty strong. But as we said, you can also, if you wish, and if you've got a lot of mediums or light tanks in your team, you can follow them. You're going to be well able to keep up with them. In fact, at 50 kilometers an hour, this is faster than some medium tanks in its tier. And it's faster than some medium tanks in tier 8 as well. So, you know, it's like faster, for example, than a T54 Mod 1. So, you know, this tank is well able to hold its own. Now we're going to have a look here at a mastery game. Pretty unusual mastery game as well, in that I actually don't get any kills. And I'm just trying to think when I shot this video if I'd actually ever had a mastery game without a single killing before, and maybe I have, but I can't remember one. So this is a very unusual thing in Blitz, to get a mastery badge without actually getting a single kill, because obviously you're not getting any XP from kills, so you have to get the XP elsewhere. So I'm playing this tank now in its typical heavy tank role. I'm going towards C, which is the heavy tank channel on this map. And I'm going into a side scraping position here because I just want to see what's available. I need somebody to spot. E50M is going to go up here, so he's going to spot them all up. I'm going to roll out here, and just so you can see just how good a gun is, because I'm firing onto another IS-8. Pick my spot right through the drive wheel. Nice up 400 alpha roll. And in this tank you're going to get anything from 350, depending on RNG, you're going to get anything from 350 to 450, maybe even sometimes 500 alpha rolls with this gun, just firing AP rounds. Now I've moved in here, I've used the speed of the tank. I took a round, but it really needs to come and help my E50 because it's really important that we hold this strategic point on the map. Now this is about shot selection. I don't want to shoot the chieftain. I want to continue, I want to concentrate fire on the 121B. Why? Because we want to remove a gun from the game. If I'd taken the easier shot on the chieftain, then the 121 would be less, would have more hit points, and he wouldn't be one shot, which he is now. And there you go, he's taken out by one of my compatriots because we left him with a one shot by concentrating fire. So obviously if you're an experienced player, you know that I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But if you're new, if you're learning, you know, if you've only got a few thousand games under your belt, or a few hundred for that matter, and you're watching this video to see what tanks are in the line ahead, where you're going, where you're grinding, that's a lesson to be learned. Concentrate fire on the same target, because you remove a tank from the game, you remove a gun from the game. Why is that important? Well, because a tank with one hit point can do exactly the same amount of damage as a tank with full hit points. So the only way to stop a tank... Oh, Greenland's not for sale. Well, that's reassuring, because I was terribly worried about that. So, you know, a tank with one hit point does exactly the same amount of damage as a tank with full hit points. And therefore, the only way to ensure that a tank is not going to do any damage is not to leave him with low hit points, it's to remove him, kill him completely. Therefore concentrating fire is essential. Now we've captured C, we did a lot of damage, we've taken out a chieftain, taken out the 121 invincible, and now I'm going to trick this E75. I'm going to show him a little bit of leg. He takes the bait and asks me out for dinner, gets turned down, and now I'm going to push on because I know he's on a reload. Now actually I make a mess of it here. I thought I had, and then I just fired at the wrong moment. A bit of a that one. But here you see what I mean about the IS-8. This is kind of circle of death, semicircle of death, and you can see that the speed of my tank to power to weight ratio, I'm actually kind of doing medium tank tactics on this E75, and then again that's one shot, and my teammate takes him out. So there we go, over 4k of damage done, base secured, helped my team, mastery badge delivered, Confederate badge obviously, but as you see, very unusually, no kills. And again, I was trying to think back. I certainly don't remember getting a mastery badge before without any kills. I'm sure it's happened, and I'm sure if you're watching this and it's happened to you, you can leave a comment in the video in the comment section. But I certainly don't remember having something before. I think it's something quite unusual on Blitz. Now look at the XP. You can see it's 1255 base XP, and that's what delivers the mastery badge, even though there's no kills, and a Confederate and a Master Gunner badge. And I mentioned earlier on that the gun is not perfect, right, because it's a Russian gun. But if you can deliver a Master Gunner badge in it, then you know that it is actually not a bad gun at all. So let's recap. So this is a good heavy tank. It's well balanced, good armor, good gun. Not spectacular or anything, but well balanced, right? You can play it as a typical heavy. If you want to know what that is, please look at the heavy tank guide, because it's great at the basics, but also it's a Heavium, so you've got other options. It has excellent armor, it's on side scrape front and back. You saw me front side scraping in that game, even when I was up tiered. It took so much punishment. 122mm gun is decent. When it's the top gun, it has good pen numbers, but only when it's the top gun. The reload on that top gun is 9.3 seconds though, which is way better than many of its peers in tier 9. So therefore, overall it's a well balanced tank, solid at everything, not spectacular or anything, but solid at everything. Now you need to angle this tank. You saw when I was side scraping there, you need to present those really high relative armor numbers on the sides. And you can therefore play this tank as a frontline heavy tank if you do that. And again, I'd say watch the guide on channel if you need a refresher on that. I would use supercharged and refined gun. I always do, with very few exceptions. That's just one of my tenets of my play. Feel free to disagree, of course. But this tank is very forgiving, so therefore you can use it as a hammer. You know, you can play for your team, particularly if you're top tier. You can really go front line, move, angle, get those max relative armor numbers facing the enemy, and you will get bounces, as you saw there, over 3000 hit points in little sequence of play we looked at in Himmelsdorf. But apart from that, its speed also opens up considerably more tactics. You can flank, you can support your meds, you can even follow your light tanks. It's so fast. And that opens up different tactics, especially when you become more experienced with the tank. The music was Beethoven's 7th Symphony, which is one of his best in my opinion. Hope you enjoyed it. And I guess it remains for me to say cheers, Mush. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. If any questions, you can PM me on Facebook, of course, at World of Tank Blitz, at WOT Blitz Gameplay. So I guess all that remains for me to say is pants off.